Hi there. Welcome to, I think this is our final Timer Tip Tuesday of 2022. That's a lot of T's. Strong alliteration today. I like it. All right. Well, since most of you have already been on one of these, I'm not going to go through my normal spiel and I'm going to just jump right in. This is going to be a very, very quick one, but we are going to do some reviews on some other things and a demo that'll hopefully reinforce some kind of best practices when you're working with race day scoring, both renewing and saving and backing things up, stuff like that. So the thing that we're talking about today is renewing a race in race day scoring. For those of you that have been using it for years, we know that you've been asking for it, and I think it was about a month ago this feature rolled out. And I know I've used it multiple times. It's very helpful, especially if you have a fairly complicated race with multiple segments, things like that, or custom reports that you don't want to have to rebuild step by step. So we'll jump right in. You've probably noticed, hopefully, you've been updating everything in race day scoring. So anytime you're on your race day scoring and it says update available, click that button, update things, and make sure after you do so that you allow everything back through the firewall if you have your firewalls turned on. But there is a new option in the race list to renew a race. And so this button is right here under renew. It allows you to keep all your scoring set up, but removes a lot of the other year of information out of the event. So when you're in an event, if you have it on your device or on your computer already, you should be able to see it right here and click renew. It's a very, very simple process. So by clicking that button, it'll bring up a number of things, like so the number of events, other events that you can renew it to. So this has events all the way from 21 to 23. So this specific scenario already had a 2023 event in there. So it's asking which, for the test event, which you would want to renew. Obviously, you wouldn't be renewing a 2023 event yet. But it does copy over things like timing, location, stream, segment, reports, age groups, top finishers. They'll all be copied to the next year. However, reads and participants will be replaced with new participant data, and all reads will be removed completely, as you would expect. So in this scenario, all you would do is click one of these buttons to which one you would renew. So in this scenario, you would likely be renewing from right here. So you would click this button and this turns green and you can hit renew. So again, not a difficult process there. And then you do have to map some fields that could change year over year, specifically things like corrals, team types, custom questions. And if you think about it, it's like hypercritical that you're paying attention to this, because a lot of you score based off of custom questions. So maybe it's the custom question might not be like in the question form, but it might be choose what division you're racing in. And it could be, age group, Clydesdale, Athena, novice, pro, what have you. And you might be using those to filter things out for overall awards. Well, you need to make sure you link those one-to-one as per your new scoring. So in this regard, the events, we're going to choose events one-to-one straight across, so there's no change from year to year. Same with this example. So for this example, there were no group types or anything like that to update. Well, this one there were 15K to 15K, 5K to 5K makes sense. But then we have running club, and running club member to running club member. So just making sure that all these are mapped correctly and then hitting save. So again, not a complex process. That's really all you're doing. And so with that being said, and we're keeping it short today, I'm serious. So with that being said, I'm going to go straight into a demo here. And so within race day scoring, I'm going to look for a race that I know I'm going to be timing in January. So it's called Charlie Post. Well, I live in Charleston, so when I type in CHARL, I get a whole bunch of races, but Charlie Post isn't in there. Why is that? Oh, I timed it on another computer. Okay, so what do? And this is kind of the lead-in for how you do some other best practices. And that is I backed it up to the cloud. I know that. So I'll go to import a race already on RunSignup? Well, so I know it's a previous race. So instead of searching from 22 to 23, I'm actually going to search from 21 to 22. So when I hit search, it searches from the very beginning of 21 down, and boom, right there, there's my race. So if I click on this, I have an option to do two things. For those of you that have never pulled a race down from the cloud, this is exactly how you do it. So here it is right here, and I think I mistyped when I saved it. So 2021, it should be 2022 final upload, or I can import the original race. Well, the original race doesn't have any settings. The original race right here is quite literally the framework of the race, like if you had not done anything. That's not what I want. I want to back up. Initially, I want to back up this event. So I'm going to click that, and it's going to back up, and it might take a second. But you'll see reads come in, you'll see participants, and you'll see the race date, 1/29/2022, right? So we have 838 participants. 2022, we see we have, it's probably still dropping some reads, and I think there were about 4,500 reads. So yeah, there you go. We've got all our raw reads, we've got actual data in here. So now we have all of this information on here, and if ever you need to work on another computer, you can back it up, back a race up to the cloud by clicking this little button right here, and then you download it just like I did. So now I'm actually going to exit out of this event. I don't need to do anything more than click the green dot. I don't need to back it up, I just pulled it down. So now I'm going to go into back into races. Now all of these are listed in order of date. I could do it by scoring ID, but I'm just going to keep it by date. And now you can see this event is in there. Or if I wanted to stay, let me just go back to one. I could do what I did at the very beginning. And now you can see I have this event in here. So I can delete it, I can export it, I can back it up, or I can hit the renew button. So today we're talking about renewing things. So I'm going to hit this renew button. And it's kind of small, but you can see that their number of events is 2. The dates we're talking about renewing to is this. So we're going to actually click on this and we're going to go renew. And again, 15K to 15K. I do want to map this 5K to 5K. I do want to map this. I do want to map this, and I'm just showing you guys what you can do here. So, and I'm going to hit save. Now, once I do that, what it does is it drops me into this year's event. So you can see I have 0 raw reads in here instead of 4,625 or whatever it was. And I have 393 people registered for this event instead of the 828 or whatever were registered. Now, some things to consider when you're going in here, especially if you have lots of timing equipment, and that is going into like your streams and making sure, so, all right, I've got, 4 decoders for this specific event. Well, I've got quite a few decoders. So I might not be using these 4. And so what I want to do is I need to make sure that I've got the right decoders that I'm going to be using this year's event. So just keep that in mind when you're setting things up. Also, it's just practice for me. I always go in and I'm going to save sync settings. It's just something I do every single time to make sure that RunSignup is syncing to RaceDay scoring on this device. So again, we've got all our people in here. No bibs are assigned yet. This race is not for another month and a half. So I would expect that. Timing locations, I know they haven't changed, but I would go and review them year over year. Maybe the start times changed. And I know for myself, I put in time filters and, and time between filters, things like that. So I know I have all of that set up for the different events. Scored events are probably not going to change. And so I might not have to do anything there. Corrals, this race doesn't have any corrals or segments. But again, like when we go in, we can see we've got all of our overall categories, all of our age group categories, and any of the reports and specific settings that we had set up before. So again, super simple, but don't forget to review things after doing it, because just because it's renewed doesn't mean you're going to do everything the exact same year over year. This might be a really obvious concept for some of you, but for others, you might think you click that renew button and everything's good to go 100%. You still, like, all of your reports are there. And for those of you not doing custom reports and not doing any, special things, maybe this isn't as big of a feature. For those of you doing like triathlons or marathons, like, I mean, the marathon I'm timing this weekend has 13 splits on course. So it's a big deal for me to have to renew, and have to re-segment all those out and make sure everything's correct. Now I can renew it, and all the splits are the exact same as they were last year. So it makes life a lot easier. And that's really it. So I don't know if there's any,
Chris, can you, again, based upon your experience, you've been working races for a lot of years, and this whole thing with custom questions and the fact that RunSignup custom questions actually stick around year over year, but the race directors have to kind of choose which events they apply to. When you have a race that changes custom questions and they've done it one way one year and then maybe they make a new question next year, let's talk a little bit about what happens during race renewal with those custom questions mapping. Go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, I was just going to say, you do need to make sure that you're pointing at, if you have multiple questions that are being asked in different ways, that you're pointing at the right question for the right year. And also, again, like if you're using like questions, most races, when they ask a question about, like, say, division, and for those of you that time triathlons, for instance, is a really easy example. You just need to make sure that if that question has changed, that you're pointed at the right question for the right year, because we're not going to delete that data out.
Yeah, so it's a really important point to review your filters that you've set up in different places, whether or not it's top finishers, it might even be special reports, because, if they did change the question, it's difficult for us to kind of manage that. You'll have to kind of check that. Yeah.
And worst case scenario, if they did change it, you need to delete one thing. I mean, heaven forbid you have to delete out like like one little thing, but you still have everything else. If your one custom division, it needs to be rebuild that, one overall category, but you still can go into your segments and you still have, all, if it's triathlon, all 5 of your segments or 5 or more of your segments in there. So again, for those of you with pulling, lots of decoders out there with lots of different events or custom questions, this is just super helpful. But as with every time we talk about this, test. Just test it, run some test data through there. And I mean, you can go through these and you can just double check that all of your decoders are right. And then if they are, you can go in here to your 5K start, and I can go down and generate test reads. And I can quite literally say, I'm going to add a range. You do have to assign bib numbers in this regard, just to make data come through. But you can quite easily say, whatever bib 1 to 250, and we're going to have one occurrence, and we're going to have it all happen at the same time. We're not going to sit here for it, and we're going to set our times to this. We're going to hit start and save it, and it's going to actually push theoretical raw reads through there. So I think I didn't even put a real number right there. Good job. So anyways, I just go back to testing all the time. You don't have to actually connect to a decoder, because if you're on a plane flying somewhere and you just want to test things out, you can test things out just like that. You do not have to be sitting in front of a decoder and test things out in those ways, plugged in. Any other questions? Again, it's a fairly simple topic, but you do need to review things. So just make sure that that everything is in good shape before you just go bananas with it. All right. Well, if there's no other questions, appreciate you guys joining us today. This will be pushed up to our YouTube channel. And goes without saying, happy holidays. Thank you guys for being such an integral part of the RaceDay scoring team in 2022. We look forward to seeing you at the roadshow or at other conferences next year. And you know, if you're looking to set things up, I know a lot of people have a lull for a bit these next few weeks and leading into January and February. You know, this is when you do your testing. This is when, you know, don't just take a huge breath and let things go. So just definitely do testing in the off season and get yourself familiar. So 2023 is the best year yet. Thanks so much, guys. We appreciate it, and we will we'll talk with you next year.